Hello, hello, and welcome to this next episode of Marketing Spotlight. This is just me today. Today, I want to talk to you about creating content for cold leads, for warm leads, and for hot leads, because as I know I work in the professional services industry, so sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes people hear about my services, think, yeah, that would be great, but I can't right now for, fill in reason here. But then later they're ready to talk to me. So, and a lot of how I get them from point A to point B is through the content that I write. I know a lot of salespeople be like, what? You don't call them all the time and email them individually and follow up with them on social media. I mean, okay, depending on the lead, I might do some of those things. But it has been very effective for me to write this content and just put it out there and have it just draw people to me. The reason I want to talk about this is the thing that I always compare it to is when I was a kid, I was horribly shy, like debilitatingly shy. Never raised, I don't know if I'd never raised my hand in class, very rarely raised my hand in class, right? I was the kid who wanted to sit at the back and just be ignored. And when I went shopping, I would have this. I'd be too embarrassed to ask anyone for help. I would be terrified if a salesperson asked me if I needed help. So if they did ask if I needed help, I'd be like, no, I'm fine, thanks, and just kind of like try and disappear into the wallpaper. But if I did need help and I did want to buy something, I was too afraid to just say, hey, can you help me with this? Don't worry, I have since gotten over all of this. But as a marketer and a salesperson, I look back on this and be like, so the salespeople were just supposed to read my mind and try and figure out, no, now it's too early to ask her. No, now it's too late to ask her. No, now it's just right. Here's your window. Go for it. Um, but unfortunately, as digital marketers, we are kind of still in that guessing stage, right? It's a little bit better because we do have all this information we can glean on the people who are visiting our website, where they're coming from, what content they're looking at. That all gives us a whole bunch of context around what they're doing on our website, which is super helpful. So it's not quite as bad as what I was putting those poor salespeople through. But I do want to cover each stage. And when I say each stage, I mean like cold lead, warm lead, hot lead. Like I said, depending on your industry, you might have more stages than that. But very broadly speaking, everyone knows what a super cold lead is, right? This is someone who has no idea what you're doing or why they should care. They might not even have heard of your services before, right? Um, these are the people, again, going back to the analogy of the retail space. This is like if I were going through the mall. Remember when the mall was a thing? You remember that? We'd go through the mall and we'd go window shopping. We go, oh, that looks nice. And we may or may not go in, right? The cold leads are the window shoppers. What they see in your window determines whether or not they will go in. So, what are some content that you can create for these cold leads? Social media posts are great. I do love those. Again, the ones that describe who you are, what you do, what your services are, why anyone should care about your services, how you help people, the problem that you solve. Those are all excellent types of topics to cover for the cold leads. The problem with social media is that if you're not careful, the only people seeing it are the people who not only are following you, but are actively engaged with your content and are already seeing it all the time. So you do have to put a little extra effort into making sure that your social media can get beyond those people. Using the right hashtags is great because a lot of people follow certain hashtags. So if you can figure out what hashtags your ideal audience is following, you can include those in your content. Making it really eye-catching. We always talk about stop the scroll, right? People have to actually stop and look at your content. That means images, that means videos. They have to be unique, they have to be branded, and it has to be something that gets their attention so they actually stop long enough to read whatever it is you're talking about. And those first few lines, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, right? So if I'm scrolling on LinkedIn and I see a video or an image, that's the first thing I see, right? If it's eye-catching, then I'll look at the first few lines of text, which usually, depending on who you're following, it's a few lines and then there's this little more button. So you got to click that to see the whole post. I'm going to look at those first few lines and determine if it's something that I want to read. It may or may not be something that I want to invest more time in. So it's got to be a good image and or video, and it has to have a really strong start because you only have a few seconds, literally less than 10 seconds to get their attention. And shareable, make it shareable. Social media does this for you anyway. But by making it, again, the kind of content that people go, oh, so and so has to see this, right? I just saw something on LinkedIn a few days ago about dogs, and I'm a dog lover, and my dad is a dog lover. So, of course, I was like, oh, I have to share this with my dad. But I had to text it to him because he's a Luddite who's not on social media. But the point is, make it something that people want to share and make it really easy for them to share. You can have social media buttons on your blog. So if people see something on your blog and they want to share it on social media, make it really easy for them. Social media also makes it really easy for people to share, but you might want to remind people who see your post that they can share because sometimes people need a little prompting. Guest blog posts are another great way to get in front of your audience, right? It's no longer the SEO silver bullet that it once was because for some reason Google decided it does not like those links from guest blog posts. It's not a backlink strategy anymore. I don't know why, but it is still a good way to get in front of other people and demonstrate your expertise. You've got this blog, you've got this audience that's already built in, they're already engaged, they already have a certain level of trust with you. They're not necessarily going to go straight to buying from you, but you've got their attention because someone they already know, like, and trust vouched for you. So don't blow it. Use that blog post to entertain them if you can and educate them and fulfill that promise and make that person who gave you that space on their website, make them proud so that they will hopefully give you a guest spot again. Choosing a guest blog post, a website for a guest blog post is really important. You don't want it to be a direct competitor because they might take leads from you. They might be afraid you'll take leads from them. That's not great, likely to be a great relationship. It does need to be someone either in your industry or in a related industry. For example, I love working with web designers and web developers because they work with my ideal clients. So I could easily talk to on their blogs, right, about creating content for your website and how to do that and why it's so important and different stages, different types of content for different stages of the buyer journey, right? All these things that people need to know if they are creating their own content. So make sure that you are teaming up with the right person for those guest blog posts. Next up, information blog posts and informational videos on your channel, on your website, specifically from an SEO perspective. You're gonna the early stages of the buyer journey, the cold people who are like, what is this? Do I care? What? They might be doing a little information on, like, I heard there's this thing called content marketing, but I don't really know what it is. I'm going to do a Google search, right? So your how-to blogs, your what is or what are topics are awesome for those cold leads who are like, I don't even know what this is. What is this? What do I need to know? Answer those questions. Tell them what they need to know. Tell them what it is in a blog post. Um, and then if you work in an industry with a long buyer journey, it can be frustrating, I know, to get these cold leads, but it is so worth it if you nurture those leads, if you capture those leads and then nurture them and educate them so that when they are ready to buy, you're the first one they think of because you put all this time and effort into educating them. Which leads me to my next point, warm leads, right? So this is stage two. They know who you are, they know what you do. Depending on the services you offer, it might take a while for them to actually reach out to you. I have had at least two people I can think of off the top of my head who either met me at a networking event or they saw me speak somewhere, or they attended one of my webinars, and then they got on my mailing list because I always ask people to get on my mailing list, especially when I'm speaking and doing these webinars, right? So then I put blog posts and videos and other content in my newsletters. It went out, now it goes out every other week. At the time, it was every week. And it took months for these people to reach out and say, okay, I'm ready to work with you. But when they did, it was super easy to make that sale because they were already familiar with me. I had already built up that know, like, trust because they had seen all this content coming from me every week straight into their inbox. And the ones who actually read my blog post, one of them at least upsold herself because she quoted something in my blog post that I had published a few weeks ago earlier and was like, I know I need such and such because this is what's more effective because blah 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 blah. And it was not an exact quote from my blog, but I knew exactly where she was getting that information from because I knew that was in my blog. Probably the easiest sale I've ever made because they had read all that content from me. So again, social media posts, right? You got your social media posts aimed at the cold leads, and then you've got your social media posts that are aimed at the people who know who you are, know what you do. You've built a little bit of trust with them. Now you're just working on reeling them in and educating them and getting them hopefully back to your website and onto your newsletter. Right. So I talked to you about the people in my newsletter who already became clients. And all I had to do was send out a newsletter once a week. It was super easy. Webinars I love because I have fun leading them. I enjoy making webinars. They can be repurposed endlessly. If you have an upcoming webinar, you can say, hey, I have a webinar coming up at networking events on social media in your newsletter, right? It can come up over and over and over again that you are doing these webinars. And then once it's been published, assuming it's a free webinar, now you have this recording, you did record it, right? So you have this recording, you've got it up on YouTube, you put it up on the other social channels, you shared that in your newsletter, put it all over the place. It is such a great way to establish yourself as an expert in your industry and again capture those people who might be kind of interested in who you are, what you do, maybe what you're offering. They're not sure yet. They're still trying to figure that all out. Newsletters and webinars are a great way to keep them hooked. Last but certainly not least are the hot leads. Finally, they're ready to buy, or they're very close to being ready to buy. Now you just have to convince them that you are the one they want to work with. These are the people who know they need to buy, right? All right, that's it. I need to hire an SEO person for my website. I'm just going to do it. How are you convincing them that you are the one they need to work with? It's going to be your sales pages, right? Because ultimately that's where they're going to go. All right, I need these services. Where do I go to find these services? They're going to find their way over to that page of your website. So it had better be on point. I have a whole other video on how to create awesome sales pages. I'm not going to get into it too much here because I don't want to repeat myself. You can go check out that video. I will say one of the things I mention in there is, address the problem, uh, identify what is the problem that you solve for them. What will their life look like when it's once you've solved it for them? What does it look like to work with you? And kind of along those lines is the FAQ section, frequently asked questions. If you keep hearing the same questions coming up over and over and over again in networking events, in sales calls, when you lead webinars, that's the other great thing about webinars, right? Is that they are a great opportunity to get in front of people live. So if people are asking you questions, it means you're not addressing that question. If you're hearing the same things over and over, it means you need to address that question in your content, either in your webinar or elsewhere on your website. So quick detour back to webinars, and now I'm back to sales pages and FAQ. So the FAQ section, always have an FAQ section on your sales page. You can also have a separate FAQ section, which may or may not be good for the people who are, again, those hot leads who are thinking about buying. They will go straight to a sales page. They will go straight to an about page or your bio to learn more about you before they make this buying decision. But they really want to know what all is entailed in this service and what they need to know about it. The FAQ page is also like, why do I need to hire someone, or what are the benefits of hiring such and such? Any of those questions that you hear over and over and over again, no matter where you are, when you tell someone what you do, you hear this question come up. That needs to be in an FAQ page. I'm not saying you have to have your own separate FAQ page, but it can help. Again, especially if you work in an industry where you tend to you get a lot of questions and a lot of the same questions come up. Have an FAQ page so people can go there. Explanatory blog posts and videos. I love these. This is where it's like, all right, this is what it's like to work with us. This is what our product is like. And you can do this in blog posts and social media posts and all of the things. This is the videos in particular are great for like, here's this thing, here's how this thing works, right? We all see even just little videos of this little, whatever it might be, a toy, for example. We see videos of someone playing with the toy, so we know how the toy works. One of my favorite marketing videos is by Saddleback Leather. And I can't remember the title, but it's something like how to make a knockoff of our Saddleback briefcase. And I was like, why would you tell someone how to make a knockoff of your product? But you watch the video, and what they do is they're like, the knockoffs will do this, what we do is this. And in the process, they demonstrate how much better their product is because of the extra work that goes into it, the extra materials that go into it, right? A knockoff is going to use as few materials as possible to try and save on money. They're like, no, we want it to be really high quality. We want it to last forever. So we put this in here. It is an amazing video. I highly, highly recommend you go check it out. So if you have a product-based business, absolutely include those products in your videos. Put those videos up on YouTube so people can search them, but also embed those videos from YouTube onto your sales page because again, that's where people are going to look. And last but certainly not least is your contact page. Okay, the contact page does not have to be super persuasive. You need a little bit of content explain again, reminding them who you are, what you do, why they're reaching out to you. Don't need to spend a whole lot of time saying you really want to work with me because of all these reasons. They've already encountered all that content. They already came to the contact page because they're ready to contact you. So the only thing that I really have to say about contact pages is make it super easy to find. Do not ever, ever make them dig to try and figure out how to get a hold of you. One thing you can do that I've seen is I see people put their contact information in the footer of their website. There isn't even, I mean, there might be a separate page, but there's also like, here's our address, here's our email address, and it's tiny, but it's right there at the bottom. So if you can read it and you're looking for it, you go straight there and it's all right, this is their email address, their address, I can make an appointment, whatever information they need to get a hold of you, it's right there. But always, always have a link to your contact page. Make it super easy, super visible. I always recommend putting it in the menu of your website, which should always appear at the very top of your website, regardless of the page people are on. It should also appear at the bottom. And that's it. That is everything I have for you today. That is how you can create content for cold leads and then warm leads and then hot leads. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find other content like this over at my website, AV, right, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com, and you can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. And that's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.